Hey guys, how's it going? Preparing here. So, I've actually made a monk in Diablo 3. You guys probably have no idea that I did because, well, I leveled him in a few hours and I geared him out in, well, all his gear is crafted except for a few pieces that I found with the Demon Hunter. And it's a pretty cool build. I want to show you guys, I want to highlight it, not because, oh, look at me, all that kind of stuff. It's very easy to build this type of character. It's just that it's a cool idea. Other people in the guild helped me work on it. Apple and a few other people showed me a few skills, how the monk works and all that kind of stuff. And I think what we put together is something that is indeed extremely awesome. And, well, I wanted to share with you guys. So here we are, this is my monk. I don't have any cooldowns up, I have 140 million toughness, and this is what this character is. This character is a tank, and what I've realized when I was playing my Demon Hunter is that any kind of tank, any kind of monk or whatever you bring into Greater Rifts past 30, especially on hardcore, they're going to die. And that became the limiting factor. That was why it didn't really progress very much in group Greater Rifts, was because every single tank that we ever brought died really quickly, in some cases on their first run. So the reality is it's very, very easy to build a character like this. I'll show you guys the gear real quick. Some of it is not that easy to get, but you don't need it. The parts that you need are quite easy to get, and honestly, they're very flexible. So we'll start with the items that aren't too easy to get. You need a Leoric's crown. You don't need one that's 100% perfect like this one, but you do have to keep in mind that you get this item to double the bonus of cooldown reduction. Now this character can have way more toughness than this, but this character has almost 74 reduced cooldown of all active skills, and this is why you don't use a % life gem in the helmet. And I'll explain how the character works after we go through all the items and all the skills. So Lyric's Crown, not that rare. I'm sure you guys can find one or two. Just play a Demon Hunter if you want, or play a more aggressive monk. Zephyrian Amulet is one that makes you immune to lightning damage. I think this is the best item because out of the deaths that I've seen tanks take, it's mostly been from electrified, but you guys will see that it's not needed. You do need an amulet that has reduced cooldown of all skills, which is just as true for all the other pieces of gear that can have it, and I'll let you guys know which ones those are. One thing that is important that is very different from other classes is because you're a tank, because your damage is fairly irrelevant, it's not important to get sockets on jewelry. The only gem that you actually need is this one, Gogok of Swiftness. It's not for the attack speed, it's for the cooldown reduction per stack of attack speed. So you can get 15% more cooldown reduction from a socket. This is not the best way you can roll this ring. It has 15% life instead of 8% cooldown reduction, but I just kept it because the character works, because I have cooldown reduction on everything else. The Ring of Royal Grandeur, which is now very easy to get, by the way, just get one of these. If you want to drop the attack speed, go for it. Attack speed is not that important. Get reduced cooldown of all skills on everything. So rings, amulet, gloves, specifically weapons, that's why I'm dual wield, and shoulders. So there's a lot of set items that you see here, and I'll show you guys why the Ring of Royal Grandeur is so important. So the first set that I'll go to is Born's. This is all the sets used on this character are crafted. Born's Furious Wrath is a crafted weapon. You do need to get reduced cooldown of all skills on this item, preferably 10%, which is the max. You don't need the socket. I just decided to use it to waste one of my gifts on it because it was a pretty good roll. You don't really care about damage, but the damage roll, the primary damage roll on a weapon, it's pretty important. Because it's a full tank, eventually you probably want to drop this gem and get like a life on hit gem, but whatever. For now, it's fine. You can see that I'm getting the 3 set bonus by only using 2 pieces because of the Ring of the Royal Grandeur, which reduces the set items required by 1. So this is why this character is so important. The bonus of Born's is relevant because of the 3 set is reduced cooldown of all skills by 10%. And the 2 set 15% life is also fairly significant. So I use the Born Shoulders, Born Sword. There's actually no flexibility if you want to use all these set items, by the way. You want to use a Sheriff's Ward. The gloves, just pure tank stats, because the 3 set gives you 20% life and 2 set gives you $100 resist, which is very, very good. And if you build full tank, you're not going to see stats like these. So, get those, get these. You notice that these don't have all resists, but because they have a secondary resist, and because we have a specific passive, it will make up for it. And we use the Captain's 3 set again in 2 pieces, and again because it has the reduced cooldown of skills, it's a 2-piece, but because you use the ring you get the 3-piece for free, which is all resist, which is, well, whatever, why not, you know? So for the captains you need to use the pants and the belt. Make sure you get as tanky rolls as you possibly can. You also use Augils. Augils is good just because it has the elite damage reduction, the range and melee damage reduction, and all these individual things kind of add up after a while. So you get Augil's chest and you get Augil's bracers. So you use a shitload of set pieces. And the only item I didn't go over is the Burning Axe of Sankis. You use this item because of the unique property of the legendary chance to fight through the pain when enemies hit you. This passively procs like an ignore pain. And it's pretty good. It does reduce damage a little bit further, but as you'll see shortly, it's completely irrelevant. I just used it because it happened to drop, because it's cool, and because it already had a reduced cooldown of all skills roll on it. This item originally has % fire damage, which is completely useless. So it was a very good roll for this build and pretty much garbage for everything else, so why not? I used it. As far as the skills go, there's some flexibility to this, but I'll show you what I have. I have Crippling Wave with the one that the enemy is hit by it. They deal less damage, 20% for 3 seconds, so you become even more tanky. You have to use the Dashing Strike, which gives you a 40% chance to dodge for 4 seconds after using Dashing Strike. What's relevant is normally it takes 8 seconds to save up a charge to be able to actually use Dashing Strike. Because this is affected by your cooldown reduction, you're able to pretty much permanently use the buff. I use Serenity in the really defensive build. If you don't need Serenity, and you probably don't ever, but let's say you don't want to use Serenity, you can increase your toughness further by getting 20% more life using the Earth ally. But for now I'll show you guys the base build, the one that doesn't even try to maximize the toughness stats, but you guys will see how ridiculous it is. Cyclone Strike with Implosion, the extra range is pretty cool. You can use Eye of the Storm if you want to spam it more, or you can use this one if you have a lot of Health Globe on your gear, and I specifically got quite a bit of Health Globe on my gear. You need to use the Resist Mantra. The Resist Mantra is important because the secondary one gives you dodge chance. What's relevant is because they changed decks to give you armor, everything that gives you dodge chance, specifically stuff like this, makes it crazy. Like the amount of toughness you gain from something like this is ridiculous. And then you use Epiphany with Desert Shroud. It gives you a 50% shield wall, and your attacks make you teleport and do all that crazy stuff. Epiphany, it's 60-second cooldown, 15-second duration, so you need 75% cooldown reduction, and I do have this using the gem, and I don't have reduced cooldown on all my pieces. You can further this to increase and actually make Serenity, which makes you immune to everything. You can make it so you're a permanent immune to everything tank. And it's important to note that you're a tank because sometimes you lag in the game, sometimes you misclick, sometimes you're not quite too precise with using your abilities. So if Serenity drops, you don't want to die instantly. And I'll just use this build as the example, which doesn't have quite the perfect gear yet, but it's still, I made this gear from crafting. It's nothing. This character setup is 0. You get Harmony, which gives you a little bit more resist from the side resistances on your gear. You get Guardian's Path, which gives you 35% chance to dodge while using 2 one-handed weapons. Sixth Sense, reduce all non-physical damage taken by 25%. And Beacon of Etar, reduce all cooldown by 20%. Sixth Sense is actually the one that you can drop for cheat death, but I'm pretty sure this build will never die ever anywhere. So yeah. What is relevant to note, the reason this type of character I think will be relevant, especially in hardcore, is because the DPS requirement is quite relaxed in the high greater rifts, where the incoming damage is not relaxed at all. The damage you take in greater rifts is absolutely ridiculous. So that's why this character is here. You tank stuff and you pull stuff to you so it doesn't hit anyone else in the group. And this is why this character is so tanky. So right now the base toughness that I have is 140 million, which is pretty high. I can get this much higher, but this is a cooldown reduction character. And it's a cooldown reduction character because The uptime of the mantra, when you use a mantra that you have passive, it gives an additional effect. In this case, you get an additional 20% to all resists, so you can see the toughness goes up from that. And because I want to use Dashing Strike permanently, you can see Dashing Strike gives a ridiculous amount of toughness from the dodge bonus. Dodge in general is not that great, but because of all the set pieces, because of all the percent life that you have on it, I have over 100% life without even using any Paragon points in it, and without using a gem, I have over 1 million life. I mean, yeah, I have Vitality, but I mean, I'm not that high Paragon level. You gotta get cooldown reduction there. Mostly armor is important because you don't have things that multiply that too highly, and the rest is pretty much whatever. But yeah, the dodge is ridiculous, and it's ridiculous because you have the buffer. You can afford to get hit a few times in between not dodging hits. And the other ability is Epiphany, which is the shield wall, because, well, with the stacks, I do have permanent Epiphany. I can't be CC'd, and I gain like a lot of spirit regeneration passively. And Serenity, right now it has, with the stacks from the gem, it has about a 5 something second cooldown. I'd say it's about 75% uptime that I'm immune. So pretty much most of the time I'm immune, and when I take damage, I have 532 million toughness. And you guys can see that I can easily just keep this up. It doesn't drop. The Epiphany will drop for like 1 second, but that's because I don't have any stacks for cooldown reduction on the other ability. So this character is completely insane for tanking because it will pretty much never die. So why would you need cheat death on this type of character? I don't know, maybe you do, but I doubt it. Anyway, it was a lot of fun playing and setting up this character. So I hope you guys, if you guys need a tank for your Greater Rift, you consider this type of build. And yeah, it's cool stuff. I'm surprised that the monk has so many cool builds to make. I really enjoyed the class, and maybe next season I'll make one that isn't just a tank, that actually can play by itself, so I don't have to rely on my Demon Hunter to farm stuff and gear and all the rest. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. I leveled the character in a few hours, and I actually had a pretty hilarious moment when I was leveling it, and I'll exit with that. So enjoy, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Ooh, ring with a socket. Oh my god, my screen froze and I dropped the ring with a socket. Fuck. That is hilarious. I got the screen freeze bug and I dropped the good ring I just found. Oh man. Rip in peace, ring.